Let's talk about Lucy's commands and training tools so that you can stay consistent at home. The first thing we're going to talk about is the heel. Heel is on your left side. Her shoulder should be about aligned with your left leg on a nice loose leash. About 85 to 90% of the time she's going to be in this position when you're on your walks. The other 10 to 15% of the time she can be a free dog to sniff, explore, go potty, as long as she's not pulling you on that leash. This is the prong collar. This is what I've been using in Lucy's training. All of the corrections with this collar are going to be a quick pop and release. You don't want to pull on it. You don't want to apply constant pressure. It's just a quick pop and release. So to take this apart, you simply pinch one prong with your right hand, grab the next prong with your left, and pull down. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. It's more about the leverage that you apply. Putting this on, it goes nice and high up behind her ears, under her chin. And to close it, you just pinch this prong and slot it into the next prong. And then the leash attaches to the top ring. So if she's in a heel, she starts to get a head in the heel, you'll tell her no, give a quick pop and release of the leash, and tell her heel again. So it's no, pop, heel. And that should bring her right back into position. Bring treats with you, especially on your first few walks, so you can reward her appropriately. She responds really well to treats, petting, and praise, so you can use all three to reward her. When she is in the right position, you can reward with any of the treats, petting, or praise. The next thing is the remote collar. So to turn this on, there is a red dot on the collar itself. There is a matching red dot on the remote. You're just going to tap those two together until you see a green flashing light. That light will flash green every few seconds, letting you know it's on, charged, and ready to go. To turn on the remote, there's an L button on the back of the remote. You simply press and hold until the blue screen lights up, and you see the number 20 there. To correct with this, you use the black S button. You don't want to use the red button right now, just the black S button. So if she's in a heel, starts getting ahead, you're going to press and hold the S button, tell her heel. So it's no, press, heel. And when she is back in position, you release the button. The next thing is the sit. We use an implied stay with all of our commands, which means we don't use the word stay. It's implied that once she's in a position, she stays there until you release her with a free or another command. So for example, with door manners, you put her in the sit, you open the door, and then tell her free to go through the door ahead of you or heel to walk through the door with you. She is to stay in that position until you give her one of those commands. Sit is a short duration stay. You don't want to use it for long durations because she will get tired or bored and lay down. Down is a longer duration stay. When you reward in the down, you want to reward nice and low, either on the floor or under her chin. If you tell her down and she doesn't down, you're going to pop low and to the side instead of up like you would with the sit or the heel. So if you tell her down, she doesn't down, it's no, pop down to the side, down. And that should put her right back into the position you want. Always return to her to reward and to release. You don't want to release from a distance because that will weaken the strength of that stay. You want to go back to her to reward. Next is place. Place is a boundary stay. We used raised beds for that because there is a nice clear boundary that when they step off, they know when they've made the mistake. Always reward on the bed itself. Treats come from the bed because that's the most rewarding thing. And just with the down, you always want to return to her to free her from place. With come when called, always have a leash on when you're practicing. It's a safety measure for you and her. Call her with a very clear voice that she can hear. Say, Lucy, come. Praise her as she comes towards you. Have her sit when she gets to you and reward. You always want to reward this command when she gets back to you because you want it to be super, super rewarding for her because you want her to always come back to you. If you call her and she chooses not to come back to you, you're going to tell her no, tap the button on the remote, and tell her come again. So it's no, tap, come. And again, when she gets back to you, reward her, even though she made a mistake out there, because all the corrections happen out there, all the good things happen when she's next to you. With leave it is a correction in itself. You don't have to use the word no. So if you drop something on the floor and you tell her to leave it, and she keeps going for it, you're going to tell her leave it and press the button on the remote. So she can wear this e-collar all day, every day. It goes on in the morning and comes off at night. Where this is positioned is right below the prong collar, so it should go prong collar, e-collar, flat collar. So you can rotate this periodically throughout the day so that these contact points aren't sitting in the same spot all the time, but otherwise it can stay on her all day. The prong collar should only be on when you have a leash attached, so only use this when you are training. So next, let's take a look at some of Lucy's commands.
She's a golden doodle.
Down. Good girl. Good down. Down. Good girl. Good down. Free. Good girl. Place. Girl. Place. Let's go into the remote color in greater detail. I already showed you how to turn it on. Turning it off is just the same. So you take these two red dots and tap them together until you see a red light, and then it turns off. To turn off the remote, you simply press and hold this L button on the back until it says off, and then the screen shuts off. I'm just going to turn these back on so that I can show you the rest of the functions. So this S button, black S button, is what we use to correct on a normal basis. The red S button is a boost button, so that brings the number from 20 up to 25. So this is in case of emergencies. So if she's loose and you call her, she doesn't come, you tell her no, tap the black button, tell her come. She's headed towards the road, you're going to use the red S button. So it's no, tap the red S button, and then call her again, and that should bring her back to you. Because the level of the correction needs to match her adrenaline and her level of intensity there. So the next button is this T button on the opposite side. What this does is it vibrates the collar. We don't really use this for any commands. We usually just use it to check if the collar is on. On the back, this L button has a second function besides turning the collar on and off. If you tap it once, you get a flashing light on the collar. You tap it a second time, you get a solid light on the collar, and if you tap it again, that light shuts off. This is really useful if she goes out at night. You can keep an eye on her where she is. The next thing is the dial. So this dial is locked right now at 20, so if I turn the dial up and down, it won't change. To change that number, you just press and hold on the dial until you see the numbers flash. You see it jumped up to 42 there because the dial was in a different position. So now I can dial up and down. And you may need to change the level if she is no longer responding at 20. You can dial it up. If she starts jumping at 20, she's started to get used to it, and 20 becomes too much, you can dial it down. So I'm just going to reset it to 20. And to reset it and lock it, you just dial to where you want it to be and press and hold this button until that 1D stops flashing. Inside your box, you have the original band for the collar. I like this bungee band. It is extra, but it allows you to adjust it once and just snap it on and unsnap it to take it off rather than adjusting it every single time. On the back of the collar, there is a rubber tab that you can open up, and that's where the charger goes in. On the remote, there's the same thing. There's a rubber tab that you open up for the charger. Inside your box is the charger itself. This does have 2 ports, so you can charge both the collar and the remote at the same time. You will likely have to charge the collar more than the remote because it's doing most of the work, but you should get about 2 days on a charge. Try not to overcharge these as it will shorten the battery life. You should only have to charge it for about 2.5 hours, and then it should be fully charged. You know when it's dying when this flashing light changes color. When it's at about half, it'll flash orange, and when it's dying, it will flash red. So you want to charge it when it's flashing red because then it's about to die. There are also extended contact points. You may need to use these if you decide to keep her hair long so that the contact points can get through that fur. And to change out the contact points, this is the tool that you would use for that. And underneath your tray, you have your owner's manual. This goes over all the warranty information, and it goes over the buttons in greater detail. And I've gone over the basics that you should need for use. So Lucy was great to work with. I really enjoyed training her. She learned really fast. She's very sweet. And as always, have fun, stay consistent, and if you have any further questions, let us know.